incorporated now with no spoiler policy, so that's
It
boring.
seems like you don't like the review of the new board's decision of no spoiler. I think.
The board, only 50% of it decided.
Well, yeah, I think you agree because you're implementing it. So if you
Okay.
can do it with a smile on your face, the other 50% will appreciate it.
What? Anyway, so that's how we're gonna be kicking it to y'all. We don't want to get y'all no spoilers. I mean, if y'all watch it, y'all watch it. But that also leads us to a discussion and shows us who's really watching, who's not, and things like that. So we appreciate y'all. We appreciate all the subscribers. We appreciate everybody being here, and we are going to start talking about season 1 of Startup. So if you haven't seen Startup, Startup is now on Netflix. I believe Netflix bought it, and it was originally on Crackle, but I don't even know if Crackle still exists anymore. But if it does, shouts out to the people at Crackle. But that's just what it is. That's just
I
what it
can't.
is.
Crackle exists. Well, if you do, shout out to you. If you don't exist no more, shout out to the people who used to be at Crackle. Handle that.
There you said it.
Handle that.
It's almost like MySpace. For those who are too young and don't know what MySpace is, it's almost like, all right, it was originally on MySpace. Shout out to everybody who's still on MySpace. If you're not on MySpace.
There are still some people there, huh?
No, there are some people. MySpace to change the game a little bit. It's still there, but it's almost like,
Why?
why?
Yeah,
So
that's funny.
no disrespect to MySpace. But anyway, we are going to be talking about Startup. Startup is a great little show. It has 3 seasons right now. Netflix is in discussion of creating the 4th if they haven't already started filming. You'll see a couple familiar faces. The one that we saw first and was like, oh, we got to watch it because we just support all black actors and actresses and just about anything that they do. And we like watching a variety of different things. And plus, when we have that downtime, we do enjoy watching shows a little bit more than movies. Even though I'm always a movie person, she's not. She'll fall asleep on every single one.
It's hard. It gotta be very like.
It's not even exciting because she'll fall asleep anyway. Don't tell that story.
I watched that movie.
Which one?
Tenet.
We didn't even. Tenet was cool.
Did we review that?
No, we haven't.
We need to review that. I watched Tenet with you, and I didn't fall asleep. I watched the one with my girl Tracy Ellis Ross, where it was a singing thing. What was the name of that one? You know that one. The one. You know that one. I watched that one with you.
Startup. This again, we started watching this because we support black. If you're a black actor and you're doing something great, we're gonna support you. And if we like it enough, we'll review it. So that's just the way it is. Again, I don't know brother's name. He just dude I remember from the X-Men thing, and I'm like, yo, you dude I remember.
And then
from
he
the
was in
X-Men.
that other show that we watched where he was a villain there.
Yeah.
What was that show?
I don't know, but he was
Hold
doing another show that we watched.
I'm gonna look it up.
Wow, she's really gonna look.
You can
this
tell
up
we are
now.
very terrible with knowing actors' names. Like
Nobody knows the actors' names. You just remember if you did your thing good or not. Like you don't get a name until like it was like you a household name.
oh wow.
Like if you're important enough, you get your name. But if not, you're not.
If you're important now, you go. Wow, he's very important. It's not like that.
He is
That is
important.
not the
He's a cool
rule.
actor, but I'm not about to be like, ooh, let me get your name, dog. Like I don't even know your name. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. So while she's looking that up, let me
Okay, his name is Eddie Gatheji.
Yeah.
Eddie Gatheji. You've seen him before. He's this.
Wow.
He's that brother right there. You know that brother. Yeah. That's him. But he's there with other black beautiful folks and so forth.
Yeah. Anyway, in this room, in the startup, as you might imagine, the first season and majority of the show, excuse me, is about them starting a company. And starting a company that's based in cryptocurrency, right? And you basically have 3 people whose perspective that you follow around, right? And these 3 people are showing three different aspects of Miami. You know what I'm saying? And who lives there? What's it about? The different cultures and things. You have the Haitians, which is represented by Eddie. You have the Cubans, which is represented by the girl named Isabel, or Izzy, as she prefers to
That's
be
your
called.
character's name, not the actor name.
Right. I don't know her name either. Then you have South Beach, which is represented by Nick.
So Easy's name is hold on. Otmara Manero. Marrero, sorry. Otmara Marrero. That's the name of the actress who plays Isabel. And the one who plays Nick is Adam Brody. That's it. And then there is another one, Martin Freeman. So if this name mean anything to you, those are
Right.
some of the big.
Here's the thing. I remember, you know, Martin Freeman because he was Watson in Sherlock Holmes. I remember that. And I remember Eddie because, like I said, he was in the X-Men joint. I was like, oh, this black dude from X-Men joint. So again, I joke. If any of y'all ever see this some magical way, before we blow up and things like that. No, I'm joking. I'm laughing. I appreciate all of you for all your work, but
There's so many actors that we know just seeing
I mean,
and
again,
that we appreciate that we just we can't know the name of
there's
everyone.
plenty of people who is just like you're that person from that movie or that show, and it's like, oh, cool.
And a lot of time we look up the name but then we forget anyway, so it doesn't matter.
And not just, I mean, we don't keep up with actors and celebrities.
Yeah, we don't
follow
do
your, I don't
celebrities
stalk
life.
your Twitter. I don't, look at what your IMDb page is saying your next movie. I mean,
Yeah.
if it come out, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, man, we just really enjoyed the work of the actors and not necessarily giving too much with their life. Live your life.
You know what you do.
Live your life.
You're a person. So be happy being a person.
I think they are.
Yeah, okay, cool.
I love it. This is literally how we are most of the time. But okay, take it away. Keep going.
Back to this show. You see the different aspects of Miami, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing kind of centers around old girl Izzy because she went to Stanford, and for those who know or don't know, Stanford is even though they call it Upper California, it's kind of like Central California, but let all the California people be like, oh, that's Northern California, whatever. Like anything, like literally, it's almost like anything above LA is Northern California. No matter what it is, like, ooh, that's Northern California, but California life.
Because Californians don't care about Central. It's like North and South. That's
Yeah.
it. Although
But
it's like a
still-
long ass state with like
but
so
you
much in
could
between.
Technically called Palo Alto and all that junk up there, Central California.
All that junk up there.
All that junk. Yeah, shout out to everybody.
All that junk up there.
Shout out to everybody in San Francisco, Palo Alto, Fresno, and all those other places. Sacramento, all those good things. Oakland, great cities, amazing cities. Can't wait to visit. All this other stuff, right? So anyway, she went out there, and of course she went for computer science, computer engineering, and all these different things because that's just the place where you do all that. Type of the keys, mix them things, right? And during that time, of course, being in that epicenter, you find out about things in tech way before everybody else. It's like if you're in the South, for example, you hear about music before everybody else. If you're on the East Coast, you may, on Wall Street, you may hear about a stock that's hopping or something before anybody else. I mean, again, wherever you're in the epicenter of, you'll hear about it before anybody else, right? You just know. And in this, during this time while she was at school, she was creating the code. She was a coder, you know what I'm saying, and things like that. She was a programmer, I believe that's what they're called. I'm sorry. I'm not familiar with too much computer terminology and everything like that. But she created a code, and her code was a currency, right? And her currency was called Gencoin, right? And Gencoin, for those who aren't into the crypto market like we are, but it's not it's not Bitcoin. It's essentially what
Bitcoin?
Bitcoin, yeah, it's not Bitcoin. It's essentially what the cryptocurrency. It's essentially what the crypto market is trying to be.
Mm.
in the sense of where it's trying to replace the standard of dollars and monetaries that we use now, the monetary system that we use now. And her Gen Coin was essentially going to do that. You know, she had all these visions about, yo, it'll help this person out, and it'll do this, and it'll do that. But as anybody who's listened to this knows, right? Anybody who's started a business, been in that startup phase,
You need
the
money.
the one thing that you need above anything else is funding. You need
Mm-hmm.
funding. And specifically to put it in business terms, which I know way more about than computer terms, you need capital. You need financing. One of the two. Either you got to get financing or you got to get capital. You better pick which one you're gonna
You
get.
better pick.
Because
Because you're going to need one.
you're gonna need them both eventually, but you're gonna need it. And so, how our merry band of people gets together is Nick's father was a money launderer.
But I thought we're not giving
We're
spoilers.
not giving spoilers away.
Okay. Don't give them spoilers.
Anyway, Nick's father is a money launderer. He ends up taking some money from some very unsavory characters, as you might imagine. And, you know, as money launderers do, he's like, yo, I'm going to make this happen for you, right? And what ends up happening is we meet our fourth kind of lead character, Mr. Martin Freeman, who plays an FBI. You know, he's like one of the heads of the FBI bureau in Florida. And for those who don't know, each state has a bureau of FBI. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like one. There is the one FBI in DC, but each state has like their own jurisdiction of FBI. You know what I mean? Anyway, he's part of that, and his character arc is very interesting because, in a way, he does, you know, portray a lot of what most cops talk about. Anybody who has cops in their family, and I know FBI is not necessarily a cop, but they all kind of do the same thing anyway. So don't come for me on that. You know, like FBI are different from cops and all of that. Yeah, they have more power and more jurisdiction, but you know, y'all kind of all do the same thing. You know what I mean? So with that being the case, he you know, essentially speaks on what a lot of cops and enforcement agencies talk to. He's a character and the voice and their point of view on that, right? And anyway, Nick, being the person that he is, he gets excited about Gen Coin because he's, you know, made it in corporate essentially. He's at this cool little firm or whatever, and you know, he went to school for numbers and all of that, and he's just living his happy little South Beach life. You know what I'm saying? Like he's chilling, he's enjoying it or whatever. But when Izzy comes in to pitch Gen Coin, he's like, yo, this joint is tight, this is great, this is amazing. And he ends up making a series of decisions where that changes the course of who he is. And I think what I liked about his character in particular is the change and metamorphosis of what happens with him. Because so often, one thing that we have with Petit LeBlanc and Petit LeBlanches is that they don't have that sense of relationship. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to people of color or people of melanin descent, you know, they always come in with the concept of, you know, have to cool, or have to rule, have to enforce, have to colonize. You know what I'm saying? And you don't need that. And over the period of time, he starts to embrace the Cuban culture and the Haitian culture, and of course not like all the way or anything like that. But when I say embrace, it's like he understands their perspective. He understands where they're coming from. He understands the drive and their motivations. And I think one of the most important questions, even though he's definitely not a hero character, in my opinion, one of the best questions that when they get to the point where they're about to get real funding for their business, he asks them, what's the why? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the why? Why are you doing this? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the point? Because as you might imagine, for anybody who's been in that place and you've been in that space where you're talking to angel investors or, you know, VCs or
Devil investors.
Yeah.
Some of them don't be angels.
the venture capitalists, whatever you want to call them, these people hear the same thing all day long. You know what I'm saying? They hear, my thing can change this and do that and blase, blase, blues, blue, right? But a lot of times, what they want to hear and what's so hard is they want to hear, okay, but why? Why are you doing it?
Why
Why?
you as a
What are
man
you? What are
question?
you positioning for? Why are you
Right.
positioning it? And I think that's when things really start to change. So that's kind of Nick's character in a different way. Isabel's character, from my perspective, uh, she's the opportunistic, entrepreneur, self-centered person that you expect her character to be. And partly because, again, of her backstory. And I love how they framed her backstory. And then it kind of, marries and meshes together with the person that she is now. And in that instance, she is always looking out for self. You know what I'm saying? And it may come off, and I say 80% of the time, until something happens, somebody interjects or something interjects and says, yo, maybe I can do this, maybe I can do that. And she comes off really brash, really hard and tough and things like that. But she's just complicated. I think that's the best way to describe her. Like her character is complicated in three nutshells and a squirrel.
Oh
Okay.
wow,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Um, then lastly, we got Ronnie, right? You know what I'm saying? Ronnie is, in my opinion, a diplomat. You know what I'm saying? He's the diplomat of the entire show. And as so often is the case when it comes to, because this show is so good, in my opinion, of dealing with color and dealing with the racial tensions in America, Ronnie is perceived as, well, you don't know nothing. You're just, this person from Little Haiti. Excuse me. Shouts out to anybody from Little Haiti who may be watching this, and shouts out to all the Haitians. Sac passe, first and foremost. And it showed what I talk about so often, and I won't get it here because my wife be like, you're going into 15 million other things, which we already did. But uh, it really, in my opinion, it gave his character depth. And I think what I like about him and what I like about certain other actors is that, especially who represent us in one way or another, if they still down with the team, he didn't just pick I'm thug number one. You know what I'm saying? Or thug number two. I think there's the
That reminds me of that joke. That lady.
You're laughing at that joke. I was about to bring it up. The joke from the British comedian.
What's
She
her
is so
name?
funny. I don't know
Oh
her
my
name,
god.
but she's a British comedian girl.
Yeah.
Her joke is, she was going for a movie role, and the title of her character was Ghetto Hoochie Mama
No.
number
Three.
two.
What's your number two?
Number
I think it was
three.
number three. Yeah.
Hoochie Mama
Number
number three.
Get to Hoochie.
And you gotta see the joke.
You
Just
gotta
type
see
in
it.
Ghetto Hoochie. I'm not gonna give it away. I want her to tell it because she does
It's.
it with such
I think
passion.
we've watched that like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
It's always funny.
Yeah, it's a great joke.
Um.
But again, I think it just shows what so many of us from hoods, no matter where it is in the world, understand. You always have that person who essentially has the drive, has the ambition, has the desire for more, wants more, sees a way out. But due to environment, due to mindsets, due to lack of information, you know what I'm saying? Things like that. It doesn't necessarily go that way, but I really think of him as the diplomat. And in season 2, we'll review that and talk about other things. But that's my standpoint on the 4 main characters, and no spoilers because I can't give you spoilers anymore. So whatever. Your turn.
No, you pretty much cover it all. I do. Gosh, it's so much, especially seeing the two things that are so like, oh my god, so close to reality in that show. But everything is so close to reality. But some of the most frustrating things that are so close to reality for me is the position that Ronnie is in, and that's Eddie, right? Wherein, I mean, there's no line about it. He's in a gang, right? Their way of living, the way they make their living in that neighborhood altogether is set by selling drugs. Period. There's no getting around that. And before, he's one of the head thugs, essentially one of the, and so it's like seeing the two different side of him, where he's out there, he's playing tough, but at the same time, one thing even from the beginning you see is that even in the position he's in, where he has essentially this, like, he's not the head thug, but he's like vice president thug, essentially. It's like, I gotta laugh, but this is like, he's like VP thug, right? So one of the scenes they introduced his thugness was, President Thug wasn't present, and so there was a situation that had captured somebody who was messing with them or whatever, and he came in. So they showed him first. He was spending time with his family, his daughter, his son, his wife, and they showed the love in the family. Then somebody assistant Thug came in and told him like, yo, mind you, I don't know anybody near this like other folks. Like, I just know Ronnie. Like, all I know is VP, so I'm gonna give them different like positions in the Thug company. So Thug LLC. So assistant Thug came in and told to him, oh, we had this person there, and he walked, like literally like one block, and now you're in a whole different scene where he's playing a whole different role, from father, wife, and caring to, you give me that information or I'm gonna, mess you up. And essentially get that information out. Now, when he got the information out of the person that they had captured, he wanted to let the person go, right? Because he was like, as he's is very true. He's like, if we kill him, then his people want to revenge him. They come and kill a bunch of us. Then we want to revenge. Sorry. So he captured this person. They talked to the person, got the information out, and he's like, he gave the instruction to the assistant thugs to let the person go. And the assistant thugs are like, well, if President Thug was here, President Thug will kill them. And you just gotta go with these titles I'm working with. And he was like, well, President Thug is not here, and I'm telling you, let this person go. So he said that they had a face off like, and and that's it. And so he left the room, kept walking. Of course, we hear the sound on the back that they shot the person and kill him, even though he gave them the instructions. So that I'm that's the only thing I'm gonna give you, like a kind of spoiler, but that gives you an idea of who he is, and that really plays out. Wherein, unlike most of the lead the thug board, he wants to keep things as little violence as possible. He wants to get the job done, get the drugs on the street, get the respect without having to kill. The less people you kill, the better in his situation, because he's like, when you kill them, they want to kill them. And he was right, because guess what? They came back in revenge and killed a few people in the hood. So and that essentially talks about him, where he's in the hood, he's deep in the hood. He doesn't deny the fact of his situation and what he does for a living, but he does have aspiration and sees beyond it and wants to do better, because he wants to do better, not just in, oh, let's sell more drugs and get more money, but in, let's try a different approach. Let's do something more legitimate. Let's use this money that we are making, which is small, and legitimize it and get in legitimate business and get in a legitimate way of making money, and actually build a future beyond what we have here, because as many as he's mentioned, he's like, well, what is, like, what do we have precedent of? We are the board of the thug of little city. I mean, little Haiti. But what do we have? The broken houses, the this, the that. Like, that's nothing to that's not something to own and be proud of. That's something to work out your way out of and better, And so that essentially is his motivation to, and you essentially see he doesn't intentionally get to become one of the startups, but unintentionally or unintentionally is how he got there, and it really says a lot about him, and you see the struggles, the clashings he has with majority of the neighborhood because, like Jason had mentioned, you don't that mindset is rare to find in that situation because again basic needs are not met, so it's very hard for people when you don't have your basic needs met to think about building a future and preparing for the next generation and working so that the next generation doesn't have to do the dirty work that you are doing, and working so that killing one another doesn't is not a norm, so that hearing a gunshot is not a norm, so that having to sell drug is not the norm to the way you had to live. But it's hard, people are not able to see that because of all that lack of necessities, and that in itself creates a deadly device, and I do mean deadly device. The other thing that is that really is close to reality, and most of the show is, but that really stand out to me is how they're funding the person, and as you call it, angel investor or whatever, how he treated, how he portrayed himself before and after papers were signed, and how he utilized the drive that the coder that Easy has, that he utilized her drive and the amount of work she has put in, and he knows exactly who he's working with because he knows she has a drive. He knows this is her baby. He knows she would do anything to see you go up and go to a place that she envisioned it to go. And he also knows that she doesn't have the legal knowledge and the legal education to make sure ABCD is in place before she says yes and sign papers. And he knows that she's willing to see what's on the surface without digging too deep, and he puts up some smiles and so forth, and let's just say that didn't go the way she had thought it would. Let's just say that and that those two are just like, dang, I don't I was it was so I was just like especially for folks, it was just very close to me. I was just like, dang, that's very tough. That's very rough, and it's you can see the mind games that were played in those in that situation between the angel investor and Izzy, and then you later see that even the angel investor himself have people pulling his strings. So it's very like
it's very true.
yeah.
As she said, it's one of the. I mean, the whole show is very grounded. It's very real. Like you can see yourself in each and every position. I believe. But just speaking on the realism of the deal, I know growing up, my mother is very entrepreneurial, very business. And you want that water?
I will appreciate it.
That's what you want.
I will appreciate it.
But anyway,
Thank you, love.
one thing that we always talked about, and especially coming up where we come from, is if it's a document, or papers or something like that, it's something you have to sign, read it. You know what I'm saying? Read it. Get somebody to read it, especially if it's anything
A
with
life-changing
bank accounts,
decision.
anything with assets or any of that. Before I even knew what all that stuff was, it was read it. If you know an attorney, get an attorney to read it.
And more and get somebody to look
and
at it.
Things of that nature. So that's words of experience, not just from watching this show, from my wife and I who've been in that room, and still are. In that room, you know what I'm saying? But it as she said, it did hit very close to home, for
All right, y'all. Sorry, we had to we're doing this on our phone now because for some reason all three of the batteries that we have for our camera is acting up, and so I don't want to stop the flow we are in. So I know the quality will be different and all that stuff, but I hope you all don't mind. Let's finish this thing. We were talking about, what were you talking about?
All right. As I said, this story is very close to home for a number of different reasons in our life. Because as I said to someone who we worked with, we were in this exact situation twice, actually. And it wasn't, when you say exact, obviously, take that with a grain of salt. It wasn't necessarily exact in the sense of we had a tech company and we had a biocurrency or cryptocurrency that we were trying to put on the market. I know biocurrency. But it was very reminiscent of, experience. If we had a different experience, it would have had a different outcome.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's just the best way it is. But our experience turned out a lot like Izzy's and Ronnie's and Nick in that manner. But it was a good show. It's a great show. I mean, you don't get 3 seasons, about to be 4, without having some really dynamic pieces.
Well, they don't have a 4 one?
Yeah, that's so. You don't get those things without having something that's drawing people in, and this show can definitely draw you in, if nothing else, off the acting alone and just off the character range and depth. And I think it really shows the different, even though we don't technically call it a class system here in America, the different classes. And
it's a class system.
I know, but Americans, we don't like to put things in a box that should be in a box, but it is what it is. The different aspects of what really goes on, how things really are, and what they really say about this country and things of that nature. So that's it, man. It's a great show.
Yeah, that is it. You can see it that I'm becoming used to this when we're off camera and how I want to do it.
This is why we don't do things with candles.
Hey, we all have some child in us.
Bye, y'all.
But that is it. Again, please like, share, comment, hit the bell button, ding. And if you want to follow us on our different projects, podcasts, we'll put the links below. Yes, you be great. Stay safe. Stay alive. We love y'all. Thank you all for all the subscription, for those who subscribe. And we appreciate you.